My niece dumped my daughter's new laptop in the pool. Get a better one next time. My sister smirked. I just watched. Monday morning, their business licenses would expire because I had acquired the building. Who needs a better one now? The July sun beat down on the patio, making the chlorine scent of the pool sharp and clean. It was the annual family barbecue, a tradition I maintained despite the mixed feelings it brought. I stood by the massive gas grill, trying to look like the relaxed host while keeping an internal tally of who was polite and who was merely hungry. I was 42, and years in commercial real estate had given me a calm exterior that rarely cracked, even under extreme pressure. My daughter, Lily, 14, sat at a wrought iron patio table 10 feet from the water, headphones on, entirely focused. She had spent 6 months of hard-earned allowance and tutoring money to buy that specific laptop, an expensive, powerful machine. Right now, she was designing a logo for a local nonprofit, her first official paid freelance gig, and her diligence was a point of deep pride for me. Then Jennifer arrived. She was my older sister, and her arrival always brought a thin veil of tension. With her was her daughter, Amber, 17. Amber, who had never earned anything herself, immediately headed to the pool's edge, phone in hand, looking for the perfect angle for a selfie. I was flipping burgers when I heard the unmistakable sound, a sickening splash. Amber was standing where the patio table had been, looking down. $1,400 model. Lily ripped her headphones off, her face white. "What did you do?" she cried. Amber shrugged slightly, her expression flat, devoid of panic. "Relax," she said. "It was an accident. I was taking a selfie and bumped your table." I dropped the spatula and raced over, pulling the sopping laptop from the water. It was heavy with pool water, which poured from the keyboard in sheets as I lifted it. The screen remained absolutely black. I set the ruined machine on the table, where water immediately began to pool on the stones below. "Mom," Lily whispered, her voice cracking with the devastation of a significant loss. "That's my laptop. I saved for 6 months." Amber shrugged again. The picture of teenage indifference. "Get a better one next time," she said, without even looking at Lily. "One that's actually waterproof." Jennifer materialized beside her daughter, having assessed the situation instantly. She took in the dripping computer and Lily's tears, but her gaze settled on me. "Accidents happen, Lily," Jennifer said, her voice carrying a dismissive wave. "You should be more careful about where you leave expensive things." "She left it on the table," I said evenly, controlling the fury that was already rising in my chest. "Away from the pool." "Well, Amber said it was an accident," Jennifer replied, already walking the argument back to the safest ground. "These things happen at pool parties. Maybe next time keep valuables inside." Lily looked at me, tears streaming now, not just from loss but from the injustice of the blame. "Mom, my project. Oh, my work. The client presentation is Monday." I could feel the stares of other relatives, uncomfortable, choosing silence. I set the dripping laptop firmly on the table. "We'll deal with it," I promised my daughter. "I'm sure you have backups," Jennifer said, her tone dripping with passive aggression, suggesting Lily was incompetent for her loss. "Everyone knows you're supposed to back up your work." She took Amber by the arm. "Come on, let's get some food." They walked toward the buffet table. Jennifer already laughing about something else, the incident erased from her mind. I stood there, watching the water pool, watching my sister walk away with zero consequences for the destruction her child had wrought. "Mom," Lily whispered, her voice barely audible. What do we do? Let me think, I said quietly. My face was still, my decision already forming a cold, hard knot in my stomach. The emotion was gone, only strategy remained. I would not allow this cruelty and dismissal to stand. The lingering heat of the day felt oppressive, a physical manifestation of the unspoken insult Jennifer had delivered. The rest of the barbecue passed in a blur of forced civility. I moved through my hosting duties, serving food, making small talk with distant relatives who only ever saw me once a year. My composure was perfect, but my observations were sharp. I watched Jennifer pile her plate high with my food, laughing loudly at something Amber was showing her on her phone. Perhaps the selfie that led to the destruction. Every interaction with Jennifer was a fresh offense. 3 times she brought up the laptop, always to dismiss it. Accidents are part of life, Daisy. You just have to roll with it. When she was finally ready to leave, pulling her car keys from her purse, she delivered her parting shot. It's just a computer, Daisy. Tell Lily not to be so dramatic. She was so quick to minimize Lily's loss because she viewed all of my success and my daughter's hard-won belongings as disposable. It was easy for her to judge from a position of zero accountability. The idea that she could stroll into my home, allow her daughter to ruin something important, and then offer an insulting platitude instead of an apology or an offer to pay ignited a deep, cold certainty in me. Monetary replacement was too simple. This required a consequence. After the last car pulled out of the driveway, I found Lily in her room. She was sitting on her bed, trying to wipe the sticky pool water from the back of the dead machine. A futile, pathetic effort. It won't turn on, she said, her voice hollow. We spent the next hour trying to recover what she could. She had been good about cloud storage for her documents, but hours of detailed design work and specific file arrangements were gone. The kind of work that required focused, uninterrupted effort. I can't finish the project without a computer, Lily said, her lower lip trembling. I'll lose the client. They're paying me $500. We'll get you a new laptop tomorrow, I promised, pulling her close. A better one. But she pulled back slightly, her gaze fixed on the dead screen. It's not just the computer, Mom. Amber just destroyed it and walked away. Aunt Jennifer didn't even care. She blamed me for leaving it out. That was the core wound. It was not the monetary loss, which I could absorb without a thought, but the moral injury. It was Jennifer's casual cruelty and the dismissal of Lily's efforts. The betrayal was a debt that had to be repaid in kind, not with cash, but with consequence. I know, baby, I said, running a hand over her hair. I know. Once Lily was settled, exhausted by the day's emotional weight, I retreated to my home office. My glass of wine sat beside my powerful work laptop. I wasn't angry anymore, I was strategic. The fury had crystallized into a precise, cold resolve. I pulled up my files. I had been quietly working on an acquisition for 3 months. The building at 847 Commerce Street downtown. A sturdy, 3-story brick structure built in 1920. Jennifer's family business, Heritage Imports, occupied the entire second floor. They had been leasing it for 12 years. I opened the lease agreement. It was standard commercial boilerplate, renewable annually. I scrolled down, past the renewal dates and maintenance clauses, to the section I had flagged during my initial due diligence. Occupancy. Specifically, the line that dealt with new ownership. It stated that new ownership had the right, within 30 days of acquisition, to review and approve all existing business licenses. More critically, city code required an updated certificate of occupancy whenever a commercial building changed hands. All existing businesses were required to reapply, a process that typically created a mandatory legal gap of 3 to 5 business days where the business could not legally operate. This was standard procedure, a necessary administrative delay. My real estate attorney's email was still in my inbox from last Tuesday. Seller accepted your offer. All contingencies cleared. We can expedite closing if you want to move faster. I had planned to wait the standard 2 weeks. Circumstances, however, had changed. The universe was offering me the exact tool I needed to teach Jennifer the value of accountability. That night, the glass of wine in my home office became the fuel for a plan that money couldn't buy, only execute. I typed my response to my real estate attorney, Robert. My hands were steady, my mind clear of the emotional haze that had clouded the immediate aftermath of the barbecue. Robert, regarding the 840 7 Commerce Street acquisition, I wrote, I want to move the closing up to Monday morning. Pay whatever is necessary to expedite. I want to take ownership immediately. He replied within minutes, an efficiency I valued. Well coordinate with the title company and the seller's counsel. Should be able to close by 10 o'clock. Monday. The expedited fee will run an extra $5,000, all in. The cost was irrelevant. $5,000 was a negligible line item in a $3.2 million acquisition. The timing, the certainty of the Monday morning transfer was everything. This was not merely revenge, it was the strategic application of consequence, filtered through the cold, impartial mechanism of commercial law. I pulled up the Heritage Imports lease agreement again, scrolling down to the exact clause I needed. I didn't just need to buy the building, I needed to leverage the required administrative aftermath. The clause was simply new ownership, meant the city mandated a review of all existing certificates of occupancy. This was not a punitive action, but a bureaucratic necessity, one that I, as the new landlord, would be required to cooperate with. I called Robert's cell phone Sunday morning. The building closes tomorrow at 10 a.m., he confirmed easily. Title transfers immediately, and the funds are ready to move. Good. What is the precise procedure for the business licenses and certificates of occupancy upon transfer? I asked. Standard procedure? He said. The city requires the new owner to file updated information. It triggers a reapplication and review period for the tenant's existing licenses, usually 3 to 5 business days. During that gap, technically, they can't legally operate. I understand, I said. The moment I take ownership, I want all existing certificates of occupancy flagged for review. I want that paperwork filed immediately with the city. There was a noticeable pause on his end. Robert was a competent man, but he was accustomed to clients who valued diplomacy. That's aggressive, Daisy, he said, his tone careful. Most new landlords give tenants at least 30 days courtesy notice before triggering the mandatory reapplication process. It helps maintain good tenant relations. I leaned back in my chair, the chill of my professional demeanor settling over me. I'm not most landlords, Robert. I want notices sent to all tenants electronically by Monday afternoon. File everything Monday morning. Understood, he said, sounding like a lawyer who recognized a non-negotiable directive. I will execute this as a priority. Business as usual, just accelerated. I ended the call. The silence in my office was profound. Business as usual, yes, but for Jennifer, the acceleration would be devastating. I knew her business ran on tight margins, relying on smooth, timely shipments. 5 mandatory days of non-operation due to an administrative nightmare could cripple her. The fury I had felt by the pool had given way to a ruthless focus. I wasn't reacting to Jennifer's cruelty. I was structuring a perfect, legally sound response to it. It was a cold, satisfying realization that my years of avoiding messy emotional fights had actually armed me with the only tool that could truly reach her. Power applied through legal finance. The laptop had cost Lily $1,400 and 6 months of work. The lesson for Jennifer would cost her tens of thousands of dollars and the loss of her secure, complacent belief that she was untouchable. Monday morning could not come fast enough. The satisfaction of signing the closing documents on Monday morning was eclipsed only by the small, quiet act of purchasing Lily's new laptop. Monday arrived hot and bright, mirroring the clarity of my purpose. Before heading to the title company, I took Lily to the largest electronics store downtown. Her face was still shaded by disappointment, but her eyes lit up as we walked toward the high-end machines. I didn't let her pick the basic replacement. I steered her toward the professional models, the ones designed for serious graphic work. This one, I said, tapping the screen of a sleek, more powerful model than her old one. And we are also buying this, I added, picking up a rugged external hard drive and a high-grade, completely waterproof carrying case. Lily protested, looking at the price tag. Mom, this is too much. The old one was only $1,400. The total for the new machine and accessories came to $2,100. You deserve the first one because you earned it, I said, putting the items into the cart. You deserve this one too. This isn't compensation, Lily. This is investment. My internal conflict, the desire to shield her from the injustice while also teaching her that accountability mattered, began to resolve itself with this dual action: the physical repair and the strategic counterattack. The financial repair was complete, allowing the moral justice to begin. By 10 o'clock a.m., I was seated at the title company downtown, my attorney Robert across the table. The air conditioning was low and the atmosphere was hushed, fitting the gravity of transferring $3.2 million. I signed the documents one after another. At exactly 7 minutes past 10, 840 Commerce Street was mine, fully owned by Westmont Properties, LLC, my holding company. I owned the building outright, with no mortgage to slow down my leverage. The sense of quiet validation was profound. This was a monumental commercial achievement, but the true significance was personal. I was trading wealth for justice. My attorney, Robert, received the notification that the transfer was complete at 10:45 a.m., just 45 minutes after the closing. He forwarded the email. Paperwork filed with the city for the mandatory certificate of occupancy review. The subject line read. Minutes later, a second email arrived confirming the electronic transmission. Business license review notices went out to all tenants, including Heritage Imports, with a subject line that clearly stated, Manandi to our RVWOF certificate EOF OCCUPNCYDUETOCHNGINOWNRS IP. It carried the city's official seal and a clear warning that operations were suspended until the new permits were issued, a process guaranteed to take several business days. I looked at the confirmation on my screen. I had not sent a threatening letter or made an accusatory phone call. I had simply exercised my legal rights as a property owner in the most precise and timely manner possible. I had delivered the consequences that Jennifer had failed to deliver to her own daughter. I closed my laptop, the small sound echoing in the quiet room. Lily was back at her project, perhaps already beginning to test the new machine's capabilities. Jennifer, meanwhile, was likely just seeing the email pop up on her screen. The game had begun, and she didn't even know she was playing. By noon, the silence was broken not by an apology, but by the frantic vibration of my phone, a symphony of consequences unfolding. I was in a closing meeting for an apartment complex discussing zoning requirements when the first call from Jennifer came in. I glanced at the screen. My sister's face, usually tight with forced cheerfulness, now looked sharp with urgency in the photo. I let it go to voicemail, not a trace of guilt disturbing my focus on the $6.5 million deal in front of me. She called again at 12:30, then again at 1:15. The call served as a private, escalating soundtrack to my day, and the sound of her rising panic was far more satisfying than any immediate confrontation would have been. I understood the timeline. The city's electronic notice had hit her inbox at 11 a.m. The initial reaction would have been confusion, then irritation, and now, finally, fear. I finally answered the phone at 2 p.m., excusing myself from the conference room. I answered with my standard, crisp professional voice. Daisy, I need to talk to you, Jennifer said, her voice tight, completely dropping the customary familial greeting. Something weird is happening with our business. I played the role of the sympathetic colleague. What kind of weird? The city sent us a notice saying our occupancy permit expired this morning. They're saying we can't operate until we reapply and get approved. But we've been in that building for 12 years. Our permit has never expired before. That is strange, I confirmed, careful to keep my tone neutral, suggesting a shared puzzle rather than a deliberate action. The notice says it's because of a change in building ownership, but our landlord never said anything about selling. This came out of nowhere. Sarah, are you there? Daisy, Daisy, Daisy. Are you there? I let the silence stretch, forcing her to fill the vacuum with her anxiety. I'm here. What does your lease say about ownership changes? I don't know. David's reading through it now, but Daisy, we can't close for 5 days. We have shipments coming in. We have clients expecting orders. This could cost us tens of thousands of dollars just in penalties. Have you tried calling the new owner? I asked, suppressing a wry smile. We don't know who the new owner is. The notice just gives a legal entity name, Westmont Properties, LLC. We've been trying to reach them all day. We called the property management company, and they said all questions go through the new owner, but they won't give us the contact information. Daisy, this is a disaster. We might lose our biggest client if we can't fulfill this week's orders. That sounds very stressful, I said, allowing just enough pity into my voice to be plausible, but not enough to be helpful. I hope you figure it out. Can you? She paused, and I could hear the desperation in her voice, crossing the boundary from sister to supplicant. I mean, you work in real estate, right? Commercial real estate. Can you help us figure out who bought the building? I paused, carefully measuring my answer. I had to offer a small thread of hope. I can look into it. Give me the address. She rattled off 840, 7 Commerce Street. I'll see what I can find, I said. Thank you, Daisy. I'm sorry to dump this on you. I know we haven't talked much since the barbecue. The abrupt shift in tone, the sudden acknowledgement of our relationship, was telling. She only reached out when she needed something critical. How's Lily? I asked, testing the waters. She's fine, working on her project with her new laptop. Oh, that's good. I meant to ask about the old one. Could it be fixed? She asked, the question sounding like a grudging afterthought of duty. No. Complete loss? I confirmed. But we replaced it. A $2,100 model, actually. A much better machine. A bead of silence. That's good. Listen, I have to go. David's trying to reach the city again. Can you call me if you find anything about the building owner? Of course, I said, and hung up. At 4:00 p.m., Jennifer called again, her voice frantic, completely broken. Daisy, the city won't expedite our permit. They said minimum 5 business days, possibly longer, if there are any issues with our application. They're telling us we have to shut the doors. That's unfortunate. We're gonna have to close the business until this gets resolved. Daisy, this is going to cost us over $50,000 in lost revenue and penalties for late shipments. $50,000 because some mystery person bought our building and triggered this administrative nightmare. Have you talked to a lawyer? We have a call scheduled for tomorrow morning. She continued without waiting for my reply. But everyone says the city's within their rights. This is standard procedure for ownership transfers. Her voice cracked, the sound of her usual high-handed composure shattering. Daisy, I don't know what to do. This could destroy our business. I'm sorry you're dealing with this, I said, the lie tasting cold and sharp on my tongue. The true feeling was a quiet, deep satisfaction. The magnitude of the consequences she was facing was finally matching the magnitude of the offense she had committed. The tension was overwhelming her, forcing the confrontation to the surface. The call from David, Jennifer's husband, late that evening, was the final invitation I needed to step out of the shadows. It was just after 8:00 p.m. I was reviewing my latest investment portfolio, feeling the distinct, quiet satisfaction that comes from a plan perfectly executed. The call displayed David's name, confirming that Jennifer had outsourced the diplomacy to her spouse, the designated peacekeeper. Daisy, it's David, he began, his voice strained and formal. Jennifer said you work in commercial real estate. We are at a complete standstill with the city. Is there any way at all to find out who bought our building? We need to talk to them directly about expediting our permits. I paused, allowing the weight of the moment to settle before I spoke. This was the point of no return. I kept my voice measured, calm, utterly professional. The entity that purchased the building is Westmont Properties, LLC. Yes, we have that name, David said, his voice rising with a flicker of hope. Do you know who's behind that LLC, Daisy? We've tried every public record search. I do. Actually, can you give me their contact information? He pleaded. We desperately need to speak with them about expediting our permits. This permit freeze is killing us. The contact information is on the notice you received, I said, a slight, almost imperceptible tremor of anticipation running through me. But I can save you some time. I'm behind that LOC. I bought your building. The silence on the line was absolute, vast. I heard a small gasp in the background, followed by a sharp, panicked whisper that I recognized as Jennifer's. David must have put me on speaker. You what? David finally stammered. I purchased 840 7 Commerce Street on Monday morning. I repeated, my voice remaining level, the sound of pure, unassailable fact. The ownership transfer triggered the mandatory permit review process. It's standard procedure. Jennifer's voice, raw and unfiltered by courtesy, cut across the line. You bought our building. When? The deal closed this morning at 10 o'clock a.m. Daisy, you knew this would shut down our business. Jennifer shouted, the veneer of familial calm completely shattered. Her voice was high, pitched, manic. You knew about the permit process. You knew this would happen. I knew it was standard procedure for ownership transfers. I replied. I refused to let the confrontation descend into the emotional mud she thrived in. I would anchor this in business and law. Yes, it's mandated by city ordinance. And you did this anyway. You're deliberately destroying our livelihood? She accused. I'm following the legal requirements for property ownership, I stated simply. I filed the required paperwork with the city. They mandate permit reviews. I don't control their timeline.
That is a lie, Daisy!
Jennifer snapped. You could have warned us. You could have worked with us on timing. You're doing this on purpose? Why would you do that? Why would I spend $3.2 million and sacrifice $5,000 in fees to ruin my sister's relatively small import business? I asked, allowing the irony to season my voice. This has nothing to do with personal pettiness, Jennifer. This is a commercial real estate investment. I've been planning this acquisition for months. You expect me to believe that's a coincidence? Her doubt was laced with mounting dread. That you just happened to buy our building 3 days after the barbecue. The closing was already scheduled. I conceded, offering the truth as another weapon. I simply moved up the timeline. Because you're petty and vindictive. Jennifer spat, the full force of her terror now directed at me. Because Amber accidentally broke Lily's laptop and now you're punishing us for it. Her vulnerability was exposed, transformed instantly into bitterness. The strategic edge belonged entirely to me. The silence that followed was heavy with years of unspoken resentment, finally exploding over a teenage accident and a $50,000 consequence. Aber deliberately destroyed a $1,400 laptop that Lily saved 6 months to buy. I said, my voice still level, cutting through Jennifer's hysteria. You laughed it off. You blamed Lily for leaving it out. You showed up at my home, ate my food, enjoyed my pool, and let your daughter destroy my daughter's property with 0 consequences. So you're shutting down our business. David interjected, sounding desperate. Daisy, we employ 6 people. We have families depending on us. You're going to put them out of work over teenage drama. I am exercising my rights as a property owner. I countered, refusing the guilt trip. Your business will be fine once you complete the permit process. 5 business days isn't the end of the world. $50,000 is the end of the world for us. Jennifer shouted. We can't absorb that loss. We'll have to lay off employees. We might lose clients permanently. Then you should have built better relationships, I said, leaning into the phone. With your clients, with your family, with people who might help you now. Jennifer's laugh was bitter and strained. Help us? When have you ever helped us, Daisy? I hosted you in my home, I said quietly, the memory of her entitlement burning. I fed you. I welcomed your daughter even though she treats mine like garbage, and when she destroyed Lily's property, you defended her. You blamed Lily. You acted like it didn't matter because it was just a computer, just a thing, just teenage clumsiness. It was an accident, Jennifer insisted, clinging to the only defense she had. Was it? Because from where I stood, it looked like Amber picked up that laptop and dropped it in the pool deliberately. And you know what? It doesn't matter. What matters is that you had a choice in that moment. You could have held your daughter accountable. You could have apologized and offered to replace what she destroyed. Instead, you told Lily to get a better one next time. The weight of my words settled, leaving another thick silence. I had finally shed the burden of emotional avoidance and embraced the confrontation. I felt the powerful, clean surge of justified assertiveness. So, yes, I continued, firm and unforgiving. Your permits expired this morning. Your business can't operate for 5 days while the city processes your reapplication. That's not me being vindictive. That's standard legal procedure that I'm simply not expediting for you, which is my right as the property owner. Daisy, please? David pleaded, sensing the finality in my voice. We'll pay for the laptop. We'll make this right. Just help us with the permits. The laptop's already replaced, I stated. Lily has a better one now. A $2,100 model since you asked. And as for the permits, I suggest you work with the city on their timeline. You're really going to do this? Jennifer whispered, the fight leaving her. You're really going to ruin us? I'm going to let you experience the consequences of your choices, I said. The same way Lily experienced the consequences when Amber destroyed her laptop and you refused to help. I held the phrase in the air, letting the full gravity of the retribution sink in. I ended the call with the words I had been waiting for since Saturday afternoon. Who needs a better one now, Jennifer? Hanging up the phone, the storm had passed, leaving behind a silence that felt clean and final, broken only by my daughter's quiet presence. Lily appeared in my office doorway, holding her new laptop cradled in her arms. She looked at me, her expression cautious. Was that Aunt Jennifer? She asked. Yes, I confirmed, closing my work screen. She mad about something? I smiled slightly. I wouldn't burden her with the specific details of the $50,000 cost, but I would give her the lesson. She's upset about business issues, I said. Nothing for you to worry about. Lily didn't press. She held up the new laptop, the screen showing the vibrant, completed logo design for the nonprofit. I finished the project, she announced, her pride overcoming her residual sadness. The client loved it. They asked if I can do 3 more designs for their other services. That's wonderful, baby, I said, my heart swelling with genuine happiness. That was the real victory. Her spirit and her diligence remained intact, even strengthened. The new laptop is really good, Lily said quietly, sitting down next to me. Better than the old one. But I still wish Amber hadn't destroyed it. I know, I said, putting my arm around her shoulder. But sometimes people show you exactly who they are, and when they do, you believe them. You learn that some people take and take until someone finally stops giving. I had faced down the ugly truth of my sister's resentment, and by confronting it, I had finally broken free from the avoidance that had plagued our relationship for years. My protective arc was complete. My phone buzzed with a text from Jennifer. I didn't need to open it, but I did. You've made your point, it read. Now, please be reasonable. I deleted it without responding. 5 business days was a long time to think about consequences, about choices, and about the difference between carelessness and deliberate cruelty disguised as accident. Jennifer had 5 days to contemplate the true cost of her entitlement. I turned back to Lily, shifting my focus entirely to her future. Show me the designs the client wants, I said, and let's talk about your rates for multiple projects. You should be charging more now that you have a proven track record. She sat beside me, excited and focused, launching the design software with an easy confidence. She was already moving forward, already better than before, just like her laptop. She had faced a genuine injustice, and because I chose to act, she had witnessed the power of accountability. She didn't get the old laptop back, but she gained something far more valuable, the knowledge that her hard work would not be casually dismissed or laughed away. Total word quants all parts 8,000 words,